question. You've said cops are bad like 10 times, and that's your entire argument. Why are cops bad?
Because they like to bully people.
Because they like to bully people.
And they like to manipulate the law into whatever they think that their interpretation of the law is instead of what the law, that's how the law is written.
Well, that's why it's important to catch them and to turn them in together. And that doesn't work if everybody says, oh, well, they're just going to manipulate it. Well, that's why there's a system that's supposed to work. It only works if you go in together. If you make a victim go in alone, especially if they're homeless, especially if they're disabled, they're going to break the law. They're going to do that manipulating. They're going to do all the stuff that TFCC is doing. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars do you think go to TFCC every year? Because it's at least $100,000 in wages to each person who works there. They may not be earning that much, but that's how much it's costing the American taxpayers. And then when we're sent there, because they're supposed to be mandated reporters, if we go alone, they completely manipulate the law like you're talking about. It's not just cops that are bad. A lot of these people that I've spoke with, cops, security guards at the hospital staff, Danelle Boggs, Dr. Danelle Boggs even, spoke of the corruption in this town and how the system is broken. And that's why she quit her job, is because here in Tillamook, nobody's going to do their job. They're going to send you around to these services. When they accept your money, when they take your taxpayer dollars, they have to be mandated reporters. It's not an optional reporter thing, but they pretend that it is if somebody goes in alone, especially if that person's male, they're less likely to be heard. If they're homeless, they're even less likely to be heard. If they're disabled, they're even less likely to be heard, and I'm all three. Their protocol when I go to them about abuse, what it is when I go in alone isn't their actual protocol. Their actual protocol when I go in alone is to get a hold of law enforcement immediately and get a hold of adult protective services immediately, and they convene in one place. We make sure that my safety is taken into consideration. We make sure that my evidence is kept safe. That's what's supposed to happen. But that doesn't happen when they, instead of doing their mandated reporter job and working together with it and doing it immediately and being there for the safety of the victim, they don't do that. They pawn you off on somebody else. And when you tell them that these places are committing fraud against you, like TFCC, when they accept your Medicare and Medicaid, they are committing fraud. I recorded it. Do I or do I not record everything? Almost, that's right. I have issues with, like, when you pulled up, the fucking thing had been frozen for a few minutes. You know, of course I'm not able to record that. There's also my little clandestine audio recording device, if I didn't fucking lose it again. This thing right here, but I got to keep it charged up, and I have to have a place to plug in my computer. It takes 45 minutes for it to start up and not be so slow that it's a pain. And I got to go to the library with my back issues. I can't keep carrying my backpack in and out of the library. And I know that's funny to some people and they make jokes about it, but I am seriously that fucked up. And people don't take that into consideration. They're like, why don't you go get a job? Why don't you go get a job? Because I can't physically function. I can't take care of myself. I'm easy to take advantage of, and there's supposed to be, everybody tells me this, oh, well, there's supposed to be these people to help you, there's supposed to be that. I know, but they don't do it unless you go in with them. They refuse to look at the evidence, and then it gives them what's called plausible deniability, which is against the law for a mandated reporter. They don't get plausible deniability. They're mandated reporters. All of these assholes saying, oh, well, we're going to take your word and not look at the evidence. No, you have to take the evidence. That's more important than my word, because I have a communication disability, especially when I'm stressed and scared. And when people start telling their opinions, that's not what they're supposed to do. That's not what they're trained to do.
But I'm not trained to do anything.
I know, and that's what sucks about you. What sucks about you is that you don't even know enough about what they're supposed to be trained in to be able to protect yourself or any of your family members if they come after you.
Very intelligent.
I'm aware of that. I've spoken with you. You're fucking witty as hell, too.
I know. ass and shit.
I'd marry you for your brains. I like zombies. I'm into brains. What would you say?
I said I can protect myself from the Ask TFCC
Not from this.
about me.
What do they tell me?
They don't even, well, they won't tell you anything because
They're not allowed. So what am I asking them? Have you ever heard of Chris with the white van? That'll just sound creepy.
I stirred the pot there a couple of years ago and I fucking started some fires under some motherfuckers' asses.
If I'd have said that exact sentence in Colorado or Nebraska 4 years ago, I'd have been arrested for threatening to light people's asses on fire. All right, so when I say that they'll fucking play whatever stupid head game they can, I mean it. That's why you have to go in with me, or why they have to go in with me, or they have to go in with me, or they have to go in with me.
My little brother, he's schizophrenic.
Yeah, they pretend I'm schizophrenic. Go ahead.
He had a peer support worker with TFCC.
Yeah.
And my little brother, like I worked with him really closely to get, him in the best place he could be. He lived with me for 2 years. It took me 2 years to retrain him, to be able to wake up, eat food, take his medicine, do everything.
Yeah, I know the routine too. Sorry.
Hello? It's pissing me off. So I'll come fix it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
I shouldn't have interrupted your story. That's what they're trained not to do, and I'm trained not to do, and that's what I get pissed off at you for doing. So go ahead.
2 years retraining this little fucker. And about a year into it, he had a peer support worker. And he would have a meeting with them, and he was supposed to come pick them up, and they would go do their thing. And every time he'd be out there ready for his appointment, sitting there ready, and the dude would never show up. So I called down there and I fucking let him have it. Because he would be depressed for the next 3 days afterwards, because he was counting on that person to be there.
That's how I am all the time, because none of the people I count on understand. Go ahead.
Every day.
Do what?
I show up every day.
Dude, and I know this is going to sound wrong, all right, and this isn't because I want to touch anybody, but, hugs are important. That is important, but hugs don't fix everything. People's belief system is important, whether it be the Jesus, the law, whatever. That is important.
You need a hug?
I do.
Hugs are healing.
I do need a hug.
I'll give you the hug.
Thanks, Chris.
It's all right. Who's Drake?
He's another one of the addicts here.
Was he here this morning?
He was here last night. Thank you for that, Tony.
Get the fuck out of our park.
So what they ever do about the peer support worker?
They fired his ass. Because I called the administrator and asked her, I said, what the fuck's your issue? She said, well, to help me with mental health. And I said, bullshit. It's to take a shit on their faces when they have mental health crisis. That's what you do. You take fat shit on their face. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, this motherfucker.
Well, I've got all that stuff recorded. I've got everything with them recorded, them taking a big fat shit on my face, and I don't have a brother like you. And also, there's the fact that I'm not schizophrenic, but they keep pretending that I am when I try to turn them in. They go, oh, well, you're sane, so you don't deserve the rights of a disabled person. And then when I try to turn them in, all of a sudden I'm mentally ill out of nowhere. I'm like, I had the paperwork to begin with. If I'd had a brother like you from the very start, Natalie Bollinger would still be alive. That is no fucking joke. Like I went to all the mandated reporters, all of the equivalent of TFCC everywhere in America that I was at. But I didn't have a brother like you. I had people that I was staying with who wanted to argue with me or tell me, hey, cops are bad. I know cops are bad. Hey man, why don't you go to this place and why don't you go to that place? Because the mentally ill thing means they automatically get to pretend that I'm schizophrenic, and if that doesn't work, well, police officers, even though it takes 6 months to diagnose schizophrenia, police officers took me in when I tried to turn in those police officers. They took me to the hospital, told the hospital I was schizophrenic, and the hospital wrote it down. Right? Like,
and it's not funny.
It is funny because it's a fucking felon. It's a goddamn felon. Scott DeCosta did that. That's why I was arrested 11 different occasions, either on bogus charges or sent to a fucking nut hatch in a different jurisdiction. Then they won't let me turn it in because it's a different jurisdiction. But he's a sheriff, so he tells them I'm schizophrenic. So instead of them doing what it is that they're supposed to do in the case of the schizophrenic, though, what they're doing is they're doing the bullying, like the high school bully when they get your fucking brother by himself. But the thing is that all of my paperwork shows that I'm not schizophrenic. It shows that police officers told hospitals that I was schizophrenic, and in specific officers I was trying to turn in. So yeah, I need a brother like you to say, hey, this is enough of this shit. But the place I have to go to get this started is the Department of Health and Human Services. Because I have to turn in TFCC, and you have experience in TFCC, so you know. So your opinion that it won't do any good is valid, but the fact that you made it work is also valid because it shows that it does work to go to a friend or family member. Only if they care, only if it lights a fire under the ass and they say, hey, fucking my friend Sean wants to fucking die every day because he doesn't have a life. He can't see his friends and family. He can't defend himself. He can't protect himself. He literally doesn't have enough money to do these things, and everywhere that he goes, he has to do it alone to be taken advantage of because he's alone. They know he's not schizophrenic, but they pretend he's not schizophrenic, or pretend he's schizophrenic when it's beneficial to them, and then they pretend that he's not disabled because he's intelligent. All of his physical and mental disabilities go away because he's intelligent. His intelligence goes away because we call him mentally ill. So no matter what, without a friend or family member, literally all of these services I have reported doing this and sending me to the other services. And by law, they're supposed to work together. They're supposed to call Adult Protective Services, and they're supposed to call law enforcement. They're supposed to work together. Is there a problem with local law enforcement? Yes, if I was not called mentally ill, then yes, they could send me to that department to turn in their officer. But because I am called mentally ill, because I have communication difficulties, it is a felony for them to send me to the police to turn in police. Meanwhile, I have the police telling me that it's not their job, so I read other agencies over and over and over again. Then, there's the fact that I can't remember the officer's names, especially when I'm being fucking grilled, and especially when they send the officer that I'm trying to turn in that officer. Local, showing up at the hospital. By law, they should have kicked him out as soon as they realized he was one of the officers I was trying to turn in. Luther came back again on multiple occasions where I was trying to turn in their officers for not doing their jobs as mandated reporters. And then he antagonized the situation right before his boss shows up to be a fucking dickhead to me because I can barely communicate because I'm scared shitless. Go fix the dryer. Thanks, Chris. Yep. You look into my car, it's fucking ugly. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Got a notification, missing girl in Illinois. Missing Illinois girl featured on Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries. You know, these addicts could have gotten help years ago, but they're getting the runaround instead because there's too much money in taking advantage of people. You see how they fucked around with his brother until he got involved. A friend or family member got involved. What did it take to shut down Clearview? Friends and family members getting involved. What did it take to stop Whale and Lolatai? Friends and family getting involved. These people could have helped me to turn it into the cops instead of making me make it public. On the bright side, for all of you, I don't have a choice but to fight for our rights. The rights that you guys want to pretend that we have. The ones that you aren't being victimized, so you still have the illusion that that's the way that it is. How many veterans on the street had an illusion that if they fought for our country, they'd come back a hero and they'd be set for the rest of their lives? How many of them thought, hey, you know, I go and fight for these rights in foreign countries, they're going to have these rights here? No, most of the people I know who joined the military did so because there were no opportunities in their area. There's nothing for them. There's a lot of people I know who joined the military because they didn't have any family. Like, shit, dude, I turned 18. I didn't have anything. I tried joining the military and they took me. One guy was telling me that he graduated in a small town like me. I had like 27 kids in my graduating class. He had 14. Wasn't shit there. He said it was working the farm or working the farm. And if you didn't have a farm, well, that was it. You moved somewhere else. He was telling me, he was sharing a story similar to mine, where when he graduated from high school, he didn't get shit. His dad was in prison, his mom was in prison, some crap like that. Or they were in something, but basically they weren't involved in his life. And that happens a lot. When he turned 18, he didn't have an ID. He didn't have this is like, for him, it was like the year before they institute all of these services to actually help people that aged out. But he was able to get one of those services, one that I wasn't able to. They were supposed to assist him in going to college. Like, they were going to pay for his college straight up. Every one of us who ages out of the system is actually eligible for that, but we have to be able to get it started right away. And without a caseworker assisting me, it just never happened. There's all these people who want to make these excuses why it won't work, but then they give me examples of it working if they work together. If they try to do exactly what I'm asking them to try to do. Work together. If you just blow me off and brush me off and give me excuses not to try, I'm scared. For me, I don't want to go back into grocery outlet. Because I'll have a panic attack, because I'm just going in because I want to explain to the people who tell me their stories. Hey, you know, I need help turning in my story and not having to be afraid. She says it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It does matter, and that's why it's on my paperwork. The preventative measures. We have no rights without friends and family. That's why preventing this requires us to go to friends or family. This works for elder abuse. How can elder abuse be prevented? If you're a family member or a friend, see, it addresses my family and friends before it ever addresses me. The hospital also gave me the wrong paperwork. I have to be afraid again to go into the mandated reporters alone again. TFCC is taking advantage of us, and that's just not okay. With what Chris said about their peer support, do you really think that I'm going to trust their peer support? Meanwhile, it's not helping me to turn this in right away. If you take money for a job that you didn't do, and us taxpayers are paying that money, you defrauded the taxpayers. Yes, sir. No, sir. It became unsafe to go over to them.
Really?
Yeah, well, you know Robert Farnsworth, right? The guy who screams and yells at people and he's real schizophrenic. No, Shane's actually not too bad, but it became unsafe because the clergy there that are mandated reporters didn't do their mandated reporter job on multiple occasions, and multiple of the predators out here that I see often, I don't see them down here. I only see them if I go up into town. But I know that if they're predatory towards me, if they assault me, if they threaten my life, the police are just going to blow me off. I'm a disabled and at-risk adult. They're not going to do their jobs to call APS and collect the evidence right away. They're going to talk over me and talk down to me like they do everyone.
Up there, you know where the college is?
No?
Oh, it's just down 3rd Street?
Yes.
Okay, right up there by the college, was a motorhome park right there. It's parked there for like 2 days. And now every fucking window is smashed out. And it wasn't a junker. It was a nice, older, but real nice.
People wonder why I don't wander far from my car. I keep it in view.
I don't. And then I had my friend had some property up in the fifth wheel set on the side of the property. Now all the windows smashed out of that. It's like, what's going on?
Well, they're sending all these tweakers to places like TFCC, sending them over to the church, sending them to all these services. Then they send me to all the places that they're sending these tweakers. And then I'm getting victimized by the tweakers, and I'm told, well, just stay away from the tweakers.
They're all tweakers.
Right? They tell me to go to these services, and I walk in the door. I'm like, I saw that guy smoking a bulb over by Grocery Outlet. I saw that guy fucking shooting up just the other side of McDonald's. I saw that guy fucking pissing on my tire. I recorded a guy pissing on my tire while I was in my vehicle. And I'm nice to him because he's a tweaker. I don't want to deal with the volatile stuff you got to deal with if you tell him no.
What's up that up there?
Oh, my kayak? Yeah, it took me 30 minutes to make that, 15 minutes to make the pontoons, and then 10 minutes to try it out. So grand total of 50 minutes start to finish.
I thought you used to have a fiberglass one.
No, I had a rotomolded plastic one, and the guy who bought it from me for $150 wants to give it back to me for free, which I'm totally down with.
Where's that? Somebody that
Yeah, his name's Dallas Palmer. Fucking cops. Those guys are so useless. I've literally had run-ins with every cop here over people victimizing me.
Yeah, you don't want to call the cops, man. They ain't gonna help you.
That's what everyone says, and that's why
Even in Portland, man, you call the cops and they take you to jail.
when you're victimized here, instead of them doing something about it, they try to pawn you off on somewhere else and tell you to go somewhere else. It's illegal for them to do that. All these people who say don't go to the cops, if all of them worked together and went in with me together to turn it into the cops instead of making me go alone, it'd be a lot different. But everybody makes me go in alone, and then when a lot of people who said they'd go in with me, they say, well, I also need somebody to go in with me. So I say, all right, I'll do that. And then they do all their running around by themselves. They come back and they say, I got blown off at all those places. And I say, well, I offered to go in with you. Or they want to complain at me about their problems and I offer to go in with them, and they're like, it's not going to do any good. It does do something good if you go in together and you record it, which is what I do. I've recorded felonies from nearly every agency in this town. I've also been able to record the fact that they try to keep it in-house by only sending me to Tillamook agencies. And then after I've been sent only to Tillamook agencies, they tell me to call the state troopers. I call the state troopers, they tell me it's not their job to police the police. Meanwhile, it is. It's a felony for them to blow me off. I'm a disabled and at-risk adult.
Well, I don't know what to tell you about all that. I don't know. I just tried to stay away from it.
Right.
The further I am away from it, the better off I am.
Yep, and that was the way that I was until I was too gimpy to do so, too broke to do so. I was made a target when my friend Natalie was shot in the head, and I've had to deal with that everywhere I go.
What happened?
Well, my best friend, she was on drugs, so she had a fucking drug-induced psychosis. I drove 1,700 miles to get away from her, but she started spreading that I stalked her. The next thing you know, telephone happens, and then all of a sudden I've got every tweaker in the woodwork coming at me, being douchebags about stuff that never happened, saying, oh, you stalked some girl to Virginia. I'm like, there's evidence here that shows that she told me she was going to kill herself if I didn't go to Virginia. I went where I was told to go. Of course, when I left Virginia, I went back to where I knew her from, which is Boulder, Colorado. She was on meth there. She told her fucking tweaker buddies that I stalked her to Virginia, and next thing I know, I've got tweakers coming out of the woodwork and assaulting me and accusing me all sorts of crazy shit. I'm like, oh my God, guys, knock this stuff off. I can't take care of myself. I'm a disabled autistic male. I'm not out looking for trouble. I'm trying to go see my friends and family, and I have problems. Could you just leave me alone?
They don't know it's not having problems.
They don't. And the thing is, Natalie was on meth.
They manufacture problems where there is no problem.
Do what?
They make problems where there is no problem.
Exactly.
They manufacture problems everywhere they go.
Well, so do the cops.
For the cops, they don't care. They just fuck, yeah, I can't do nothing about them. They're all fucked up, so fuck you too. They don't help the people that are trying to help them. You know, if they're not, if society can't change them, they don't want to mess with them. They put them in jail for 20 years and get out in the same way they were when they went in. You know?
Well, see, we got 80% of us are out here because we were victimized into homelessness. Over half of these junkies were sober when they hit the streets and they had jobs. They just weren't able to pay the overhead on their apartment, or they were living with somebody else whose name was on the apartment. So then they're out on the streets and they no longer matter. And they say, I didn't know it was going to be like this. Of course you didn't. It's because you didn't stop to think about how it would actually be. You've got this idea that you go to a government person when you're, abused into homelessness, and you say, hey, I'm disabled and homeless, and they magically give you a voucher for housing for 10 years.
There ain't no housing. They barely got housing for the people that have money to pay for it.
They're losing their houses.
New apartments they just built with low income. I think they're almost full already. They haven't even got them done.
Yep. People keep telling me to go fill out the stuff for that housing. I already have. I've been to the places that it needs to be done, but I also need them to do their job as mandated reporters first. If all they're going to do is focus on housing until housing is finally there in 2 years, and they're going to put me on a housing list that's 5 years long, though, then all of the crimes that are being committed against me, that I'm going to these people as mandated reporters for, and by law they have to turn it in right away, all of the crimes that are committed against me by these fucking tweakers between now and if I get housing, I still have nobody who's going to turn it in, because I can't trust the mandated reporters to do their job and to not change the subject and push me onto someone else or somewhere else, or fill out paperwork that only has to do with them accepting my money from Medicare and Medicaid, which is Medicare and Medicaid fraud. When we are sent to them as mandated reporters and instead they schedule us for a therapy session in 30 days, that's 30 days past when they're legally supposed to do their job as mandated reporters. And then when they still don't do it at your therapy appointment and you're telling them about the abuse and that you're there because they're supposed to be mandated reporters, they lie to you about what their job is and tell you it's other people's jobs. Every agency that I recorded down at the courthouse last Thursday, or maybe it might have been last Friday, every single one of those agencies told me to go to at least 2 to 3 other agencies. And I went to all those agencies. It's like a 2.5-hour recording of all of them telling me that it's someone else's job.
Yeah, that's Tillamook.
Yep, and everybody says that. That's Tillamook.
That's Tillamook.
Well, I tell you what, if
What they call shook the butt off to somebody else. It's not their problem,
well, that's the thing about mandated reporters. It's a felony for them to do it.
Check this out. I went into that senior disability down there. I said, I got to check out my insurance, see what's going on, see if I can get any other insurance, subsidized insurance or whatever. You I'll call this number. I said, your job?
It is their job.
Oh yeah, okay, here's the paperwork, fill this out. I couldn't believe it. That's when I first walked in, she goes, are you a client? I go, no. I go, well, what you doing here then? Almost, well, fuck you, get out then. And so, you know what I said? I said, I'm not a client now, but by the end of the day, I will be. All right? Okay, here you go. Do this, do that. You gotta, to get anything, you gotta fight. Keep the nail.
Yeah, it's a problem with me is that I'm real easy to manipulate and real easy to talk over because I'm autistic. Scared shitless of them.
They don't even give me my heart medication. I gotta go beg for it. I've been on this shit 25 years and I've never had to beg for it before. Now give me my medicine.
Will Chappell at the newspaper, if you go in with somebody, he'll at least set up an appointment to listen for a little bit. I can go in with you. I've got evidence of them doing that to me and to many other people too.
All the doctors are doing it now. First it was just 1 or 2. Now they're telling you all of them are doing it. It's like, hey, they're just trying to fuck us up. Man.
It's free money though. If they fix the problem, they don't get paid next week. If TFCC does their job as mandated reporters, you don't go in there for therapy for 6 months or 6 years or however long they end up having you go there.
I gotta get rolling, man.
What was your name again?
Dennis.
Dennis? I'm Sean.
Sean?
Yes, sir.
Talk to you later.
Thanks for talking with me.
They have a meal. They won't bother you at CR. You know where that is? Celebrate Recovery.
No, where is that?
The Nazarene Church.
And they're feeding there today?
Celebrate Recovery starts at 5:30. Be there at 5:30. They always have a meal. Then they got singing and, the 12-step program if you want to go.
So I have to pretend I'm on drugs to go there?
No, it's Celebrate Recovery. Whatever you're recovering from. It doesn't have to be alcohol or drugs. You're recovering from abuse.
Well, I literally had to start smoking pot so that the dual diagnosis clinics in Nebraska would take me.
Yeah, well, pot's legal here. You don't have to worry about it. You can buy that over here.
Yep.
Well, Celebrate Recovery is people that are into God and they're trying to help each other. They got the 12-step program. They got grief recovery. They got perks, habits, and hang-ups. All different programs, some for women, some for men. It's just a good thing. It's free. Something to do.
I might check it out, although
5:30.
some of my predators are, one of them is possibly a parishioner there. I've only heard that as a rumor, and several of them, as far as the law enforcement goes, are.
This is just nothing to do with the CR. I mean, with the church. It's just CR running by Dave, and he just runs him and his wife.
Yes, sir. And what time? 4:30?
5:30.
5:30 is when it starts?
That's when the meal starts. Yeah. Run a little earlier. 5:30.
Yes, sir.
Right,
Thank you.
talk to you later.
Thank you, Dennis. Oh, I got his name right. They say these people are rotten. The cops are bad and gay. I know, everybody tells me that. Everybody tells me that. Except for the Nazis who want to look the other way and don't think that the law should apply to the police. The disabled people, instead of having rights, they should all just be many of y'all think we should be euthanized. By the time anybody gets back to me today, it's going to be too late to turn it in. It's 3:30 now, so I'm pretty well screwed. All right, Jaden just got back a hold of me. I guess I better call him up, huh? Anyway, this is supposed to be about a racist, but it ended, so I'm gonna, I guess, change the title. Witnesses in Tillamook, or other victims in Tillamook.